Welcome to episode 5, Mineocast. Rest in peace, the 2022 Buffalo Bills. It's a tough one to eat to swallow. But after a couple of days, I wrote a blog about this one, and this cast will be kind of like an abbreviated version of that blog. I highly suggest that you read it if you are interested in the Buffalo Bills and you are interested in what my thoughts are on the Buffalo Bills. I did not bury my team. I would never do that. Although there is criticism. Absolutely. Absolutely. From the time training camp started, all I could hear from Bills Mafia and the media was Super Bowl or bust. And I knew right there that was going to be a problem. I think McDermott and the team and all the media consultants have done very, very well at coaching the team on what to say and what not to say at press conferences or out and about at the bars or restaurants or parks or whatever. They've done a really, really good job of not having those conversations. Even in the playoffs, the coach did a really good job of keeping all that talk on the DL and not letting the media run wild with whatever they want to talk about. I I actually compliment McDermott for how he handles the media. I mean, I get frustrated with it too because he doesn't tell us much, and I get that. It's strategy, just like Bill Belichick. He doesn't want the media to, tell the world what his game plan is for this team, that situation, this situation. At the end of the day, we're trying to win championships here, so I get it. I totally understand. Do I get frustrated personally? Absolutely. I want to know what's going on, especially after the divisional loss last year. I wanted McDermott to come out and say, "Look, our coaches, I made a mistake with the situation and what we needed to do in the situation." That's going to be part of my conversation today. Is about the situation and situational football. Granted, that did not hurt us in this game. It has hurt us this year. It has hurt us last year. It's hurt us the last 4 years. Let's be honest. We'll get into that. Right now, I just want to talk about the game. The game was from start to finish a thorough thumping at home. This is the second home game in franchise history that the Buffalo Bills have lost in the playoffs. The only other playoff loss at home was against the Jacksonville Jaguars in the 1997 wildcard game from the 1996 season, aka Jim Kelly's last football game. So there's a lot riding on us, not just the neutral site game and all that stuff, but history. The Bills historically have dominated the playoffs at home, only having at the time one playoff loss ever in Orchard Park, and now we have two. The defense didn't react well for a team that plays at home in the cold weather. They played like a team that did not know how to play in the cold weather, while Cincinnati had no problems running their offense at all. Joe Burrows, man, I was impressed with him in the bowl game where they won the championship. I was like, wow, this is the greatest single performance in a bowl game, in a championship game in college history. It was the single season greatest season by a quarterback in college football, in my opinion. And since he's been in the NFL, he's done nothing but make everybody look foolish. The defense just couldn't react. They got pushed around. They got pushed back. Specifically on running plays, the first step for every single defensive player on that team on a running play was backward every single time. It's not an accident that Mixon had 105 yards, was it? Something like that. Yeah, I've never seen our defense get bullied like that for an entire football game this season. I saw it last year, but not this year. And that was a wide opening experience to see that happen this year after we thought that we fixed all those problems. But injuries, I'm not making excuses. I'm trying not to make excuses. We were poor on third down and long all year long. I don't know how many times it was 3rd and 16, 3rd and 19. And even though we were in games where we were winning the game clearly, we would somehow give up that first down, be it a 5-yard penalty, be it some freak play, junk play. And that hurt us in this game too. We had a couple third downs where we could have gotten the Bengals off the field, but we didn't. So we got to clean that stuff up. What infuriated me the most in the two drives was that Leslie Frazier, per normal for Leslie Frazier, decided to run zone straight through every pass play. Zone, zone, zone. Hey, I'm not the biggest fan of zone, and it's for lots of reasons. Even though like other teams have run zones and it's worked well, like Tampa Bay, it's run well in the past. But the thing about the zone is you have to have great pass rush, and you have to be able to recover. In the snow, in that weather, the Bills could not recover from having bad zone reads. They couldn't get any pressure on Burrows that was meaningful for most of the game. So, I mean, after that first drive, I would have went man the whole rest of the way. Where were the blitzes? The blitzes that we were supposed to do. That never happened. You cannot tackle with your head down. There was a couple times also where we could have got guys in the backfield and guys would just straight up miss them. And that in the early part of the season, we were making those tackles, and now on a regular basis, we had been whiffing on those passes, on those plays, and it was bad. It was bad. The defense has had holes all year long. This is not something that is new. If you're a passive football fan and only passively watch the Buffalo Bills, you would look at their stats, look at their win-losses, and be like, how come they didn't show up? Well, they've been showing kinks in the armor all year long. Since the injury bug hit the secondary and then Von Miller got hurt, and we've had defensive linemen hurt all year long, the defense has not been 100%. And even though we had good depth at the beginning of the year, backups started getting hurt. So now we got a mix mash of guys in there that probably wouldn't be in there if all the injuries weren't done. So that was rough. We didn't run the football well in this game, in most games. This was probably of the 3 years where the Bills have been really, really strong record-wise. The running game. Of the 3 years we've been like that, this is the worst year that we run the football. It was terrible. Terrible all year long. We didn't commit very well to the run, and that's the problem. There were times when Singletary looked great. There were times when Cook looked great. Those were against lesser opponents. Also, we tend to do really well with the quick hitting stuff. The long developing runs don't seem to work very well with our current offensive package. But the quick hitters do work pretty well. I mean, there was plenty of games where Singletary ripped off 7-yard run here, 7-yard run there, and whatnot. So we got to get better at that. Pass protection was shaky against the Bengals. They were able to push us back literally the whole game. Josh Allen was not comfortable. He did not turn the ball over as much, or at least in the times he did turn the ball over in this game, it was because he was forcing the ball and the game was already kind of lost. But yeah, I mean, I really chalk this one up to coaching more than I do the players on this. I mean, the players, it was bound to happen, an adrenaline dump, but game planning and coaching are supposed to kind of sort of have that in the back of their head for plan B. Hey, what do we do if this doesn't work? Or what do we do if that doesn't work? And I didn't see that a lot this year at all. When things didn't work, what did we do? We didn't do much. That's the problem. Poor play calling. I like Ken Dorsey. This was his rookie year as a play caller, and yeah, he got getting a lot of slack, a lot of heckling over this loss. And it's not his fault. I really think at this point we should absolutely keep him, but we should also get him some help. Maybe a veteran coach as a position coach to kind of sort of nursemaid him through some of the stuff. Last time I checked, there's a former Buffalo Bill quarterback, former head coach of other teams that's looking for a job. His name's Frank Reich. Be an excellent quarterback coach, just saying. This isn't to demote Ken Dorsey, but for whatever reason next year, if the play calling becomes iffy, we have somebody else to bounce off of, and that's not a bad thing at all. I think Dorsey's going to learn from this too. I think next year, if we don't get him help, I still think he's going to do all right. I have faith in the guy. We just need him to grow up a little bit more into the position of being a play caller and get creative. We'll get more into what's going to happen next year as we go by. I'm still on the Bengals game here. We had no pass rush in the game. Poor footing. Zone doesn't work. Couldn't adapt during the game and after halftime, and that's an issue. We have not been able to adapt to anything all year. We've not been able to do that. The season. We were a bend but don't break defense all year. We were soft against the run for out of the 16 games we played, 14 of them we were very soft against the run. We didn't adapt well to in-game situations, which is called situational football. And a lot of this is going to be based on that. We didn't have a plan B. We already talked about that, but we didn't have a plan B in this game. We went 3 and out, and at that point we pretty much abandoned the run, and we did try to get back into the game, but when you put it all on Josh Allen against great teams, that's what happens. That's what happens. We were terrible at 3rd and long all year long. We had no blitz most of the season. We cannot tackle with our heads down, and it seemed like that was a problem that we had last year. That was rectified in the first stretch of this year, but then as the second part of the season progressed, we went back to sloppy fundamentals. And every week, McDermott would get on the mic and say, we got to tighten up our fundamentals. We never did that. I don't know if it's lack of practice, too many walkthroughs. I don't know. But we got to get a little tougher, man. I mean, I saw the chinks in the armor all year. We didn't run much, and we needed to run more. At the end of the season, we made last year we made Dorsey our OC, and we immediately started signing tight ends and bigger wide receivers. So that made me think that we were going to run a spread offense that we've been running, 4 or 5 wide receivers. But who says those 5 guys have to be wide receivers? 2 of them can be tight ends. And I really, really thought that was going to be our angle. We were going to run 3 wide receivers, 2 tight ends in those packages, with Allen having 2 blockers now that he can run behind as tight ends. Or they can go out and do RPOs. This is the kind of the offense that I saw in the Kansas City divisional game last year, where Kansas City literally could not stop us. They couldn't stop our run game. They couldn't stop our pass game. And I thought we were going to see a lot of that this year, and it just wasn't. Ken Dorsey was doing his own thing, and it just seemed like we got away from what made us successful to begin with. So in the offseason, I really hope that we address that and get back to those fundamentals of, look, we are a run-first football team who has the ability to throw deep balls and crossing patterns and outlet throws to our receivers. At some point, we decided that was going to be our first leg, and running the ball was going to be our last leg, and we need to reverse that. We need to flip that over and do it the other way. And I think that we'll be pretty much unstoppable if we do that. We didn't push the ball down the field at all. We got all these tight ends, and we didn't run the ball. We decided just to do junk plays and play backyard football most of the year. And against bad teams, that works. Against good teams, it 34-31 gets Miami. Against great teams, 27-10 at home. That's kind of what happens. The reason why I think a lot of people outside of the Bills fandom is that if you look at just the stuff on paper, the Buffalo Bills should not be out of the playoffs right now. And people are surprised. Well, I'm not surprised. I wasn't that angry. I was angry after the first quarter. And then as the rest of the game progressed, I was like, I'm done. I invested way too much emotional energy into this year for us to lose this way. But all hope is not lost. We're going to come back strong next year. You watch. I mean, you want to start saying Super Bowl bust now? Fine, go ahead. We're going to be just fine. Coaches I don't think our offensive coaching staff, not just Dorsey, but the whole staff, doesn't fully understand the weapons that we have. Poor situational play calling, poor game planning, did not adapt well or make adjustments well offensively, and this also goes for defense. We were very slow to adapt in the game at halftime, slow to adapt. We didn't blitz enough, if ever. Doesn't really grasp situational football. I mean, our coaching staff seems to really have an issue outside of McDermott to understand what situational football is. I don't think McDermott can defend his coaches anymore at what situational football actually means. It just seems like they have like the analytics pad, the percentages of this, percentages of that, and they just call the play. I don't think they have a true feel of the situation as it stands. And there's plenty of video evidence to show that in games. Not just this year, the last 3 years. It's there. I don't think McDermott, after what happened this year, can allow that to slide moving forward. I'm not saying anybody's going to get fired, but what I am saying is that if we don't shape up situationally, people are going to get fired. McDermott is the coach. He is the captain of the ship. He should know everything that's going on at all times. If something doesn't seem right, he needs to interject and make the call himself. And if one of his coaches gets butthurt by that, well, get better. Get better at your job. That's all I can say about that. I've seen Leslie Frazier literally look like a confused puppy on the field, on the sideline. I like him as a position coach. He's a great position coach. He's a shitty play caller, though. Terrible play caller. This is why Leslie Frazier will not be a great head coach. He may leave the Buffalo Bills to go be a coach somewhere else. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that he'll win games. I don't doubt that he'll even win a division. He's good enough to do that. However, he won't get past the wild card round, ever. He won't. He doesn't know how to make the adjustments in the situation when they really need them to be made. And until that's what makes an okay coach a great coach, is to be able to see what's going on, forget all the analytics, forget the game plan, what's going on the field. Okay, this is what we need to do. Let's execute. Injuries hurt us this year, big time. I mean, you can go up and down the injury list and say, hey, but it's not an excuse. Every single football team in every single league, be it professional or even kids, Pop Warner, have to deal with injuries. I don't know how many times my starting quarterback got hurt when I played, and I mean, we were already terrible, so it didn't matter. But I mean, if we were like 9-1, and then we had to play a playoff game with a quarterback who hasn't taken any snaps this year, yeah, that's going to cause a problem. So it caused a problem for the Buffalo Bills. I mean, ever since the Baltimore game, pretty much, is when I started noticing that the backups really couldn't get it done. I mean, it was because we're so good at so many different levels that we can hide those things from the league, pretty much, and we did. But great teams find a way, and we couldn't, at the end of the day, find a way. This team is going to be losing some free agents. We have 13 free agents plus one. I say plus one because Cole Beasley is not technically a free agent. We only signed him for 1 year. And he was a practice squad player who got called up to the main roster. I really, really hope the Buffalo Bills re-sign Beasley as a major part of our offense. He's a possession receiver. We missed that this year. McKenzie dropped way too many balls. I know that, he got hurt and that was probably nagging at him, but he really went backwards as a player this year as far as performance goes. And we can't have that anymore. These guys have been here a while and they have to perform. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that comes off as harsh as being a Bills fan my whole life, but it's true. I love McKenzie. I hope we can keep him, but Beasley has proven time and time again he's still got gas in the tank and he can still make plays. And just him on the field, not just for helping the younger players like Shakir and everybody, but his presence on the field makes you pay attention defensively. If he's on the field and we got, all of our guys out there, Diggs and company, it's going to be very, very difficult for anybody to deal with that. Guys that are free agents: Case Keenum, Devin Singletary, Tommy Sweeney, Jamison Crowder, Roger Salford, David Queensberry, Jordan Poyer, Dane Jackson, Cam Lewis, Tremaine Edwards, AJ Klein, Shaq Lawson, Jordan Phillips. Those are a lot of important players in our team. We need to completely revamp our offensive line. Our offensive line was too weak this year. It forced Josh Allen to do way too much. We need to be able to run the football much better. I can see us not signing a lot of these offensive linemen back next year just because of that. Not due to performance, really, but because we need to get better. And I don't think if we re-sign all of our offensive linemen that we're going to get any better. We have to get better. I think Sweeney was kind of a bust this year. He didn't make a lot of plays. He was hardly on the field, and when he was on the field, he did drop balls. So I don't know what we're going to do with him. Crowder, same thing. When he was on the field, didn't make many plays. I'd like to keep him. I think he's a good player, but I don't know. We gotta sign Singletary back. We cannot let Singletary go play somewhere else. Even if we love Cook, and we do love Cook. We drafted him for a reason, but we need to have Singletary. Singletary fits in our offensive game plan way better than Cook does. But when Cook puts his foot down and plants, and he's at full speed right away. You saw what he can do. So absolutely, we should keep Singletary. He's our main running back, and get Cook the carries. If we ran the ball more, these guys would get their touches, and you would see exactly what I saw last year. Poyer, must have. We got to sign Poyer back. Cam Lewis, too. I mean, he came off the bench and looked great this year. We got to keep him. We got to keep our D-backs. We got to get our D-backs healthy and get them back. The one guy I think we're going to wind up letting go, that I don't want to let go, but we got to let him go, is Edmonds. Edmonds has had enough time to get better, and he is a pretty solid linebacker, but he's not the greatest cover linebacker in the world. He doesn't read coverages very well. He's been out of position so many times that I almost bit my tongue a couple times, like literally bit my tongue and bled. I like Edmonds. If we can get him cheap, I want to keep him. But if he wants top dollar, got to let him go. Sorry. He just hasn't made enough plays. He's making our linebacking core look weak. AJ Klein, great player off the bench. I don't know where he's been most of the year. If he's hurt, I don't know. But when he's in the game, he plays well. So maybe we re-sign Klein and get rid of Edmonds and try to get somebody in the draft. And there will be players in the draft available. It's a young man's game. Every team now usually has 2 or 3 players that are rookies that are standout players every year now. So I think that we have to pay attention to the draft and look for that young talent that can actually help us right now and not just build for 5 years from now. Shaq Lawson had a great year. He had a comeback year, and I think he did enough that we should sign him for a multi-year contract. I don't know if it should be a top-tier contract, but we should keep him in our team. Absolutely. He did way too much, more than I ever expected he would do this year. Same thing with Jordan Phillips. I think we should re-sign Jordan Phillips, but if we have to let him go due to finances, I get it. Totally get it. But it'd be nice to keep him because the guy can play. Clearly he can play. Next season, the schedule is kind of hard. This year, we struggled in the second half this year of the Green Bay game and forward. Before we beat people up, even with injuries and play calling issues, since the second half, we lollygagged the rest of the season, including the playoffs. That was the strength of schedule, but I mean, the injuries had a lot to do with that. As far as 2023 opponents, we play a first place schedule. We're playing the NFC East plus Tampa Bay. We have one game in London this year. More than likely, that's going to be against Tampa Bay. I have a feeling that game is going to be against Tampa Bay. But maybe not. If we play Tampa Bay in Buffalo, I'll probably fly up there and hang out. Let's see here. we have to grow a little bit more. We have to get better. If with the schedule next year, if we don't get better, we're going to be in the same position we were this year, where our record looks good, but we're not really as good as advertised, and we'll struggle in the playoffs again. In order for us to really prosper, we really have to get better to a point to where it doesn't matter if we play home or away. It shouldn't matter. Our home games this year are Denver, Jacksonville, Miami, Las Vegas, Tampa Bay, New England, New York Jets, Dallas, and the New York Giants. Those are all tough games, but at home. At home. Away games at Philadelphia, LA Chargers, Cincinnati, Jets, Washington, New England, Kansas City, and Miami. I mean, that's a pretty tough road schedule. Philadelphia, LA, Cincinnati. It's going to be tough to win there. And Kansas City again. Home field advantage is a real thing, but when you are beat up, you have no energy, and you have bad game plans and can't adjust, it doesn't matter where you play. But I think that if we are the Buffalo Bills that we can be, and if we fix these problems and mitigate our injuries, home field advantage next year for us is not out of the question. And home field advantage with a team like ours that isn't beat up and has their head on straight is dangerous, extremely dangerous. But even if we don't win as many games next year, I think that we're going to be a better football team with a lesser record, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because at the end of the day, if we're a better team on the field, we're going to win. I don't care if we're a road team or home game. So adjustments, do I think that Leslie Frazier is going to get fired? No, he's going to leave the team voluntarily to pursue a head coaching job. If I'm him, I would do that too. But if he stays in Buffalo, he's going to have to be on a short leash. McDermott's going to have to take more control over the defense this year, at least on the field situations. When to blitz, when to do this, when to do that. I just don't think that Frazier as a play caller can do it anymore. We've gotten get out of jail free cards because of the amount of talent and some of the big leads that we had in the past. But now it's starting to show that even with big leads, if you just run the ball at Buffalo, you can come back and beat us. And it's happened. Offensive play calling, I still think that Dorsey's the man. Like I said, I think with Frank Reich being a free agent and being out there and ready to coach, it'd be awesome if he came in. It'd be really awesome. Can he do that? Can he just be a position coach and not be an OC or a head coach? For the Buffalo Bills, absolutely. For anybody else, probably not. He probably has to be an OC or a head coach. But for the sake of argument, if the Buffalo Bills were to sign him, I think that opens up a lot of windows and opportunities for the Bills, not just the Bills and the players, but the coaches to get better. The man knows football. And it would absolutely drive the Mafia crazy if they did get him. Next year, I really think that if we draft smart and get some key players at positions that we need to get younger and faster and stronger at, I do believe that if the Buffalo Bills run that spread offense, but bigger with those tight ends, and we run screens, and we run quarterback powers, and we run deep crossing patterns and fly routes like we've been doing. But when you have those two tight ends in there running that spread offense, it changes the whole dynamic. It's all about matchups. It's all about matchups. And Buffalo at times used great matchups with Diggs to get open and throw the ball down the field. But what about the other guys? Like I said, you can't double team everybody on the field. So put them in a situation where they have to double team somebody, and it's probably going to be Diggs. Maybe Diggs doesn't get as many catches. Maybe Diggs does get more catches because now they have to double team everybody else. And if you got Beasley on the field, if for the sake of argument, if John Brown comes back again and takes less money and decides to be a Buffalo Bill, that would be also awesome. I think the Bills are in a great position even after this loss. It's not the end of the world. If you want to read the rest of what I had to say about the season and read my review, read my blog. It's about 3,400 words. It's posted on my website. It's posted on Tumblr. It's also posted on Space Hay, which is a MySpace clone. But you might want to stay off Space Hay because there's lots of little teenagers on there, and the pedophiles that follow them around are also on there. So you probably want to stay off that platform. This will be the last Bills cast of the year. I'm not gonna really go into the draft. I'm not gonna go into preseason. Maybe I will. When we get closer to August, I'll get back on the fringes of it. You notice I'm not wearing a Bill shirt. I'm wearing the band As Bridges Burn. This is the band I used to work with. That was the music that I was playing before. So I probably won't be wearing my Bills gear except for this hat. Over the next couple months, I'm going to give everything a break and get back to work on stuff that I want to do. I appreciate all the support. This is a little bit longer of a cast. It's over 30 minutes, so I appreciate anybody that sticks around and listens to my banter. I'm trying to do a better job of outlining these things, but I'm thinking in the future I'm going to start editing these up. I'm going to start scripting them out and doing them so it's a much more cohesive platform and cast. I'm not a quick thinker like I used to be with all my stuff that's going on medically. I lose focus really fast. People tell me I'm brilliant, but it's really when I have time to think about what I want to say before I say it is when I'm brilliant. When I'm just out here just speaking at the mic, doing my thing, like, not good at all. I don't think it is. The views and the likes show. There's not many, so it is what it is. I also don't have great equipment. I get that. I see people on TikTok, they have their own casts and they look great. Mine looks like shit. I get that. All good. No worries. No worries at all. So yeah. Rest in peace, 2022 Buffalo Bills. Come back in 2023 stronger. I think they should come out there with a chip on their shoulder too. I really do. I really think the Bills should bully people and act like we don't give a fuck about what the score is. We're going to beat you by 30 points, 40 points, 50 points. If you can't stop us, that's not our problem. And that's exactly the mindset the Bills should have next year. Those changes on offense, I think, would be valuable. I used to be a pretty decent football mind, not so much anymore. So if anybody wants to talk actual X's and O's, hey, enlighten me. Tell me why that won't work. I think it would work. Tell me why it won't work. Like, comment, and subscribe. Give me some feedback. Let's talk. Let's have meaningful conversations. Let's not use buzzwords and SEO words and hashtags and this and that because we're trying to get popular overnight. No, don't give a fuck. I'm not even interested in getting paid for any of this crap. I don't care. I just want to be able to communicate on a normal way, in a normal platform, in a normal way with normal people. I don't want to be worrying about saying the wrong thing and then I have to backtrack everything that I just said because some teenager got butthurt by my words. One of the things I learned as a kid in the 90s growing up was that if you suck at something, practice and get better at it. Don't expect the thing you're trying to get better at to change for just you or even a small group of people, because guess what? They're not going to do that. You have to get better. If you want to be good at something or great at something, you have to fail at it miserably first, work hard, practice, get better at it, and demand that effort from yourself. If you're not willing to do that, I can't help you. I cannot give you salvation. I can't comfort you in any way because you didn't want to do the work. You didn't want to go through the pain and suffering that it requires in order to become what you want. And that sadly is the culture we live in 2023. In the year 2000. In the year 2000. All right. Peace.